Welcome to this episode of Eureka, and we are going to have a very interesting, engaging, and enlightening conversation with Professor Dibakar Chandra Deka, who is a professor at Guwahati University in the Department of Chemistry. Do you know we can make molecules, we can build them like you build a wall with setting bricks once upon them. He has found very interesting ideas of how you can do it. We are going to explore a lot more about chemistry in this episode. Keep watching Eureka. Before that, we will have a quick look at his brief profile. Let's come back after the break.
Born in a marginal farmer family, Dr. Dibakar Chandra Deka is currently a professor at the Department of Chemistry in Guwahati University. Professor Deka did his MSc from Guwahati University in 1983 and MTech from IIT Kharagpur in 1986. After that, he was awarded PhD in Organic Reaction Under Pressure by IIT Kharagpur in 1989. He did postdoctoral diploma in synthetic organic chemistry from the Tokyo Institute of Technology in 1990. In 2012, he completed his doctorate in science from the Guwahati University. Professor Deka has research interest in diverse fields, which include organic synthesis, natural products, biodiesel, traditional foods and food additives, including cola khat and alcoholic beverages. Working on biodiesel, Professor Deka and his group has discovered yellow oleander plant as an excellent source for biodiesel feedstock. It's even better than the widely known jatropha plant. Professor Deka has also discovered that cola khat is an excellent food additive. It can be used to replace baking powder, also as a salt substitute which is rich in potassium. Professor Deka generated 3 patents and was bestowed with various national and international awards. Noted among them is the FRSC by the Royal Society of Chemistry in 2016 and the Bharat Jyoti Award by the India International Friendship Society in 2016. He was also a UNESCO Research Fellow at the Tokyo Institute of Technology, Japan from 1989 to 1990.
Thank you, sir, being with us. It's a very wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, thank you.
One of your work is, we can say, a glorified mason, right? Like a masons put brick on top of each other and build houses, whatnot.
Yeah.
You are also trying to find methods of how to build new molecules. Can you tell us what about this?
Yeah, that is what we do in, or we call it synthetic organic chemistry. So in synthetic organic chemistry, our job is to, chemist's job is to build the molecules which are important for our society, mainly for bioactive molecules which are so important in pharmaceutical chemistry, in medicinal chemistry. So those molecules, many of them we get the leads from natural sources, but they are not available in nature in plenty. So to meet the demand of the society, we make them in the laboratory. That is what we do in synthetic organic chemistry. But in our part, for to make the big molecules, we have to have some knowledge how to make the big molecule from small molecules. Just like technology in the big civil works in a big building, we make the big building from small bricks. So sometimes in chemistry also we make big molecules which is so important for us from small molecules. So different processes are involved. So some people do research to give information to standardize the process where small molecules are made. Then several such reaction processes are combined together to make a big molecule.
Okay, can you give an example of one big molecule which, for example, today we are synthetically producing and which is very commonly being used?
Not so, yeah, yes. One important such molecule is in the, say, the cancer is such a life-threatening disease. Many people say that you don't have to be afraid of cancer, but still, fact is that still there is no 100% cure for cancer suffering patients. So one such molecule which is so important in our society is the Taxol.
Okay.
Right. Taxol is obtained, lead was obtained. How Taxol is important, that was information was obtained from plants.
Plant.
Yeah, plants. But you know that the plant, Taxus brevifolia, that plant contains only 0.002% or even less than that amount of active molecule in a plant.
Okay, so which means that if you have to
yeah.
treat one patient, you may have to give some.
Yeah, several plants you need
Okay.
for to produce. Say one mature tea that we know, one mature Taxus brevifolia plant, which takes about 20 years to grow, and about say maybe 20 feet or 30 feet height. So that plant can supply at the most, whole plant can supply at the most 600 milligram of drugs.
600 milligrams of drugs.
0.6 gram.
Okay.
0.6 gram. So
0.6
think
gram.
about that. So that important molecule cannot be made available from natural sources.
Okay.
Nobody can do it because even if you have lot of plants, even if you engage lot of farmers, but it takes 20 years to grow the plants, 15 to 20 years.
Okay.
So that important molecule to meet the market demand, we have to synthesize in the laboratory.
Okay, so what are the various techniques that you used in synthetic chemistry? I mean, when you want to produce something which the nature is producing
Yeah.
and you are artificially producing, how do you actually do that? I mean, you don't actually do the way the plant is doing, right?
Okay, we cannot exactly imitate how plants are doing. Plants do reaction in aqueous environment. That means they do not use any organic solvent. They use only water in aqueous environment. Different small molecule taken from the atmosphere or from the soil. So within this four, which are available in the environment, but they are connected in very complicated and different way. That is what is difficult. And in plants, they use a catalyst called enzyme, linear enzymatic reaction. And that is very difficult to imitate exactly. But in laboratory, you do in a different way.
Okay.
Right. So, not necessarily we make the molecules for just like nature, they make from carbon dioxide, water, nitrogen. We cannot do that in the laboratory. That is the limitation of chemists.
Right now, that is one of our major limitations.
One major limitation.
One of your major work related to the synthetic chemistry is finding one formulation of how to build bigger molecules. Is that right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it is exactly?
Actually, what we do, because as we talk, that making a complicated or complex molecule like Taxol or similar, there are many similar molecules. Frankenstein, Brimbestein, these are also anti-cancer drugs. Thing is that for those things you need a good infrastructure in the laboratories, costly instrument like NMR, single crystal X-ray, which are very expensive. And lot of other infrastructures are required. Because of lack of that those infrastructure, we do in our university small processes, not necessarily to make Taxol, but similar molecules.
Okay.
We develop small reactions, standardize them, and give the information to others. Those having facility, much better facility than us, they can use our reaction to make bigger molecules.
Thank you. That's a very interesting aspect. I mean, one of the job of chemist is to build molecules which are useful in many ways, including medicine, including other aspects that we are going to do. And one of the aspects that chemists today are working on is how do you build molecules that you want from some basic material. We'll continue this conversation. We'll take a very short break. Don't go away. Keep watching Eureka. Welcome back to Eureka, and we are having a very wonderful conversation with Dr. Deka, who is a professor of chemistry at University of Guwahati. You are a very colorful person. I mean, your work is really very interesting. You have done lots of work. One is in the area of synthetic chemistry, synthetic organic chemistry,
Right,
you know,
right.
how to build big molecules. And you seem to have worked on Assamese traditional food, the chemistry of Assamese traditional
Yeah.
food, something that people may not think, you know, when people think of chemistry. How did you get interested in looking at Assamese traditional food?
Kolakhar is a food ingredient and known for in Assamese society, not only Assamese society, the whole Northeast in different among different communities. They use it as a food ingredient to prepare some food materials. And
What is it called?
Kolakhar.
How is it made?
Yeah, kolakhar is prepared from banana plants. The whole trunk of the banana plant is sliced into pieces, then dried under sun for several days, and then it burns.
They burn it.
Burns it.
And they use the ash.
Yeah, that ash is kolakhar ash, which is extracted with water to make a solution, which is called kolakhar. It is brown in color, and depending on the concentration, color may be lighter or deeper. And that has some medicinal value. And also, in large scale, people earlier used it as a cleansing agent for washing, etc., for washing clothes. Those days when there was no soap or detergent or all these things. Okay, so and also Assamese people are jokingly was also referred to as Kharhwa Ohomia. That means only Assamese people use kolakhar in food. I think not any other community outside Assam or that, they do not use it. And some people also believe that if kolakhar is eaten, brains may not be sharp like that, but it is not so. Anyway, so kolakhar has been in use in our society for many generations, hundreds of years. When I started learning chemistry, then I observed that nobody has done anything to know the ingredients present in kolakhar. We are eating it, we are using it. What we are eating, we don't know. So it is our job, chemist jobs, to let the people know what actually you are eating, what it is there, whether it is harmful or it is not harmful. We cannot live just on some myths that somebody has said that if you eat it, it will damage it or so on, so forth. So as I got interested, so when I started research in Guwahati University, then that first thing I took it, that let me analyze the kolakhar and know what it is there, and let others know what are the ingredients present in kolakhar. So that is how I started on kolakhar.
And what did you find? What were the ingredients in?
That is interesting. So I'd like to let know that kolakhar mainly contain major components are four. One is potassium carbonate, sodium carbonate, sodium chloride, and potassium chloride. Apart from that, very small trace amounts of as many as 11 metals, other metals we have detected in kolakhar. In this respect, I would like to tell you that amongst all these things, the most major compound is the potassium carbonate. And you would like to know that potassium carbonate, there is no natural source in potassium carbonate in all over the world. No natural source. So banana plant can be a very good source of potassium carbonate.
That's a very interesting point.
yeah.
The other area that you also worked is about certain beverages that is highly consumed in various communities in Northeast. So can you tell us what this research?
That is the thing, you know that alcohol in all over India, anywhere is very so popular. So in Assam, there are certain communities who make their own alcoholic beverages and for their own consumption. Also they sell to some extent for making some livelihood. and those are they part of their food also or daily beverage. We call them traditional alcoholic beverage. But still recently, nobody has shown any done much to know how much alcohol is there. Apart from alcohol, what are the other things are present, whether they are good for health or not. So those things are the question came to my mind that yes, this is our responsibility to let the people know what they are drinking, whether it is good for them or not, to what extent they are good or bad, how much alcohol is there. So with that objective, I did that. So far, 4 alcoholic beverages of prevalent in Assamese society I have analyzed.
Okay.
One is the alcoholic beverage prepared by Boros, another is by Ahom community, another by Mising community, and another is that by Deuri community.
Okay.
These are the 4 major communities in Assam. So their alcoholic beverages we collected and analyzed, and we found that lot of interesting things. That is the thing. Yeah.
So what kind of interesting things that you found?
Yeah, one thing is that first thing I want, as it is called alcoholic beverage, certainly we would like to know how much
How much
alcohol is
alcohol?
present.
Yeah.
So alcohol content by in terms of volume percentage is around 5-6,
5 to
just
6%.
like beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, our Western beer or the commercial beer, it is like that, alcohol. But unlike the beers, here are many other things like, since in the raw form, there will be some starch,
Okay.
proteins, and some other metals are also present. So these proteins, they can provide as a nutrients to these communities. Also the starch present, they provide calorie, energy. So these communities who are habituated of taking this traditional beverage, they take not only for entertaining, they can be providing energy or other nutrients as well.
That's a very interesting thing, and
Yeah.
what I can also see is that you are working in Guwahati University, and you are taking up interesting questions about around you. You know, the kind of thing that people eat, the kind of thing that people drink, the kind of plants that are around you, and you have been doing a very interesting work like that. We'll continue this conversation. We'll take a very short break. Keep watching Eureka. After the break, I'm going to ask him, what are big questions in chemistry for which we don't know the answer? Keep watching Eureka. After a short break, we'll continue this conversation. Welcome back to Eureka, and we are having a very interesting conversation with Professor Dipankar Chandra Deka, who is a professor of chemistry in University of Guwahati. We had a very interesting conversation about his colorful chemistry research for last 2-3 decades. Now let me shift my question from your chemistry research to something different. Okay, one question that I wanted to ask you is like this: if you look at chemistry,
Right.
I mean, history of chemistry. Once upon a time, we called it as alchemy and not
Yeah.
chemistry. Raswad, various names it was called. And one of the things which was driving this inquiry was, how do I convert baser metal into gold?
Right.
Okay. Later, chemistry went into questions of life importance. Like, for example, around 1850s,
Right,
chemists
right.
started asking questions like, how do I produce ammonia which the plant can take so that the plant can give more yield?
Right.
That's how Haber process came in, and then you had fertilizers. The whole explosion of agricultural production is based on that. Though we may say that there are some problems about it which we need to take care, but then huge problem of food was solved by chemists. Today, what do you think is a major question before chemistry?
Yeah, yes, very good. I think I like it. It's a challenge in chemistry. Okay, chemistry, a lot of chemistry has been already done. Chemistry is now in 20th century. It's a major achievement we have got in chemistry. Agricultural, for agriculture, all fertilizers, we now know how to make them. We know how to make molecules very quickly. Earlier, making the molecules might have taken months, years. Now we can a week, we can make a big molecule like that. So chemistry has done a lot of advancement. Now major problem now in presently is that to eliminate the damaging effect of chemistry.
Okay.
Damaging effect, because so far people used to do chemistry for the though main objective was the benefit of the society, but people ignored the damaging effect of chemistry, like polluting effect, all these things never ignored about, and damaging say ozone depletion, all these things never thought about, because those knowledge were not available with the society or amongst the chemists. Now when this knowledge came up, the people discovered that ozone depletion is a major issue, and chemical industries contribute a lot towards that. So all these things, damaging things, when we came to know, now our challenge is to revisit all chemistry in a different way.
Okay.
So that damaging effects are eliminated, still we are doing chemistry. That is
So
one.
you are saying that evolving a green chemistry is
Green
important.
chemistry, right.
Okay.
So whole lot of chemistry, most of the chemistry we have developed, in fact not green. We have to revisit them, remake them, reorganize them to eliminate the side effect, make them greener and
So this is
greener.
one challenge
Yeah,
of how to
yeah.
revisit chemistry and make it more greener.
Yeah,
right. So
right.
any other challenge?
Yeah, there is other challenge means, so since I have said that a lot of chemistry has gone a very to a large extent to very deep into chemical molecules, but still there are many unanswered questions like chemistry of life.
Okay.
So I believe, sincerely believe, life is chemistry.
Okay.
And I can say a lot of things, though my knowledge is very limited, still I can say a lot of chemistry which are associated with life. So in short, I can say life is a set of chemical reactions.
Like for example, if I eat a sweet, that chemical is actually making contact with sweet sensor on my tongue.
Yeah.
It is that chemical interaction which is being
Yeah.
felt as me as
Yeah.
something sweet, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at everything, actually, it's all various chemical processes.
Right, that's a chemical process.
Okay.
Okay. So, so how sense organs are working? Okay, just like you told, why something we feel sweet, why something we feel bitter. Okay, why I laugh, smile. Okay, why I love somebody, why I hate somebody. Okay, why I am angry. These are a reflection of some chemical reactions.
Okay.
Okay, so we need to understand all this chemistry, means that to understand the life as a whole.
Chemistry is synonymous with pollution, with the
Right,
toxicity, with everything that you see around you which is bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Right? So chemistry is not something that people immediately associate with something with positive, but they associate with negative. As a chemist, what do you feel?
I feel that, see, without chemistry, we cannot sustain development, we cannot live even. Okay, so new diseases are coming up, new bugs or germs are coming up. Like penicillin, once upon a time was a very good antibiotic, but that is no more working. We need a substitute for penicillin. So similar thing, even many other antibiotics are not working. New diseases like AIDS, HIV is coming. So who knows, there will not be any more germs, new germs in future. So to fight these diseases, germs, we must be able to create new molecules, new chemistry. We must find out new chemical agents to fight these germs or diseases. So for that, we must keep developing chemistry, new knowledge, discover new knowledge in chemistry. So chemistry will be all the time challenging, but with any other good work, some side effects, some bad things will be there. We have to take care of that. that we need to do that. We cannot avoid that, but we must try to avoid that while developing chemistry. That I feel. But we cannot live without chemistry. It's impossible.
Okay. Last, you are not only a chemistry professor, but you are also the national president of All India Chemistry Teachers Association.
Yes, right.
Yeah. As a chemistry teacher, what do you think is a major lacuna in chemical education in this country, particularly in schools?
Yeah, that is in schools nowadays people has been very casual in earning knowledge. Students are casual, just like they are running after marks. Something teachers also unable to inspire them, because we have been, in fact, we are becoming very materialistic. We need good mark, good job, good money. That's all. But we are not going to the basic knowledge, to acquiring knowledge. We are not trying that. That is a major problem now. I don't know how to. Collective efforts are required. Collective efforts are required. Some policy, some inspiration, motivation required. And for that motivation only, this Association of Chemistry Teachers we have working for. We want to motivate students that yes, by different population program, that yes, good students should come to basic science, because to good some good chemistry or good physics or whatever maybe, we need good students. Okay, so if in the education system we consider as a machine, now when a machine can produce good products, not by efficiency of the machine only, but your inputs, feeds also must be good. Okay, a good machine can produce a good thing only when feeds, raw material supplied is also good. That is, I believe. So we are trying to attract good students towards basic science so that they can lead the future development in chemistry.
That's
Just being materialistic, you cannot develop chemistry.
Thank you. I mean, it's been a very wonderful
thank you.
conversation.
Thank you.
We had a very wonderful, very colorful, I mean, actually like colorful like chemistry laboratory, you know, I mean, various colors. I mean, we saw different facets of your work, the way chemistry impacts our life. It's been a very wonderful conversation. We have to end this conversation here, but keep watching Eureka. We'll come back with another interesting conversation next week. Thank you.